Dottore is one of the best villains in Genshin Impact. And honestly, I think that's also what makes him such a complicated character to talk about. Because when you say Dottore is such a well-written character or glaze him, it can come across like you're excusing the things he's done, and that's definitely not what I mean. Dottore has done horrific things. He experimented on children, crazy manipulated Scaramouche's entire life, and treated people like disposable test subjects across centuries. He has caused suffering in almost every nation he's touched. Scarily enough, he is genuinely brilliant, but there's no compassion behind any of it. And that's exactly what makes Dottore so terrifying. He's an example of what happens when someone has all the intelligence in the world, but no conscience to guide it. Before he became Il Dottore, the Doctor, the second of the Fatui Harbingers, his real name was Zendik, and he was a scholar from Sumeru Academia. But even before the Academia, Zendik was already an outcast. Wise Doctor's opinion implies that his hometown chased him away with pitchforks and clubs. We don't know exactly what happened, but ordinary people already seem to see him as a monster.
We interrupt this lore spiral to bring you news from today's sponsor.
Today's video is sponsored by NTE, the first anime-style urban open-world RPG, a game that mixes city exploration, supernatural combat, stylish characters, and fast-paced team building in one massive urban world. Dottore is a brand new character, and her overall design is gorgeous. Her model quality is insanely polished, and when you do a full 360 of her model, there are so many tiny details in her outfit, animations, and skins that make her stand out immediately. You can get a vehicle skin at 120 pulls, and if you hit 200 pulls, you can even unlock a Hottori skin, which is such a fun bonus. But she's not just beautiful, she's actually cracked. Hottori feels irreplaceable in a lot of teams because she works as a T0 support and sub DPS, so if you're building around efficiency and damage, she's ridiculously valuable. Her skill kit is also just fun to watch, especially her time stop ability. And if you're like me and you're into character story analysis, Hottori gives you a lot to work with. Between her official art, posts, and character PVs, you can start picking up on little clues about her personality, her role in the narrative, and the hidden backstory woven into her design details and animations. On top of that, the game itself has immersive urban gameplay, 40 plus original anomaly stages, and 15 plus playable characters to have fun with. So if you want a game that's stylish, fun, and gives you a ton to explore, download NTE using my link below. Thank you so much NTE for sponsoring today's video. Eventually, he entered Sumeru Academia. He wasn't one of the great sages yet, but he was already involved in serious research. Early on, he started clashing with the Academia's limits. He disliked how dependent scholars were on the Akasha, and he hated how unwilling they were to research the desert. To him, the Academia was too cautious and too afraid of the taboo. He once entered the ruins of Thoth, the Ibis King. Thoth immediately recognized how intelligent he was, but he also saw something deeply wrong with him. When Zendik's companion was injured, Thoth suspected Zendik might simply leave him behind. So, Thoth lied. He told Zendik that if his companion died, Zendik wouldn't be able to escape either, and that might be the only reason Zendik saved his companion. Even the Lord of Lies had to trick him into basic human decency. One of his earliest obsessions was ancient machinery, especially technology connected to Conria. He found mechanical remains he called the Gurubad samples, and even if he didn't fully understand them yet, he understood what made them important. They came from a civilization outside the rule of the 7 Archons. Already, very early, he was interested in knowledge that proved the gods could be challenged. Later, during an expedition around Devantaka Mountain, Zendik found another massive ruin golem. His hidden notes show he wanted to collect its components, take them apart, record every detail, and hide the discovery from the rest of the team. Yeah, he was full of red flags. I mean, I'm blind to Dainsleif's red flags, so I get it, Dottore stands. Sore was an Amurta Daster paired with Zendik during the expedition. Her note describes him as young and handsome, but rigid and difficult to talk to. At first, their research styles clashed, but then something changed. They started talking about evolution models for local plants and animals. Sore said she had a great time, and her note ends with them planning to go on a picnic together that night. Seemed like a nice date. A later attendance record says Zendik had acted without authorization for the 3rd time. That same record says Sore was critically injured by Rishbalin tigers. On the surface, it sounds like a tragic animal attack, but the autopsy reveals something different. Sore did have lacerations and internal injuries, but the fatal injury was a fractured hyoid bone and asphyxia. In simpler terms, the strong implication is that Zendik strangled her to death. She died under suspicious circumstances after working closely with him, and the official tiger attack story doesn't fully match the cause of death. Later on, there was a situation in which a research team was attacked by a machine. While everyone else saw a dangerous killing machine, Zendik saw something worth reverse engineering. Sage Sharnama punished him by removing him from the expedition paper. In Sumeru, Elazar was a painful disease that caused hard scales to form on the body. At Dar al-Shifa, the abandoned Elazar hospital, the records describe a redacted doctor treating a patient named Abbas. The notes talk about using unusual treatments, studying strange elemental energy inside people, taking materials from other test subjects, and possibly turning the results into a weapon. The doctor is not directly named, but the clues point heavily towards Zendik. The Appam Woods records go even further. They describe human samples taken from a nearby village, including adults and children. Children hallucinate. Some disappear after talking to imaginary friends. Adult subjects die during experiments. After one subject dies, the record calls it a waste of resources. The records also connect those children's imaginary friends to the Aranara, beings connected to dreams. To most people, the Aranara were magical. To Zendik, they were something to control. If the Aranara could be captured, then dreams, memories, fantasies, and consciousness could potentially be studied and manipulated. That obsession shows up again later in Sumeru when Dottore manipulates the Akasha on a massive scale. Zendik describes humans as machines of a certain level of complexity. And if a human is a machine, then the next step is obvious. Enhance it. Evolution. Create humans beyond normal human limits. The academia had so many reasons to expel him, and that's exactly what they did. Zendik was expelled and he fled into the desert. And that's when Piero found him. Fatui director Piero offered exactly what Zendik would never refuse: resources, freedom, and a place where his work wouldn't be stopped by ethics or frightened scholars. Zendik accepted. He became Il Dottore, and from that point forward, his experiments only expanded. Under Piero's orders, Dottore infiltrated Tatarasuna using the fake identity Escher, pretending to be a mechanic from Fontaine. There he met A's discarded puppet, Kabukimono. Before he became Scaramouche, the Kabukimono had a peaceful life in Tatarasuna. He was taken in by the swordsmiths, especially Niwa, who treated him with kindness and gave him a place among the people there. Then Escher arrived. At first, he seemed helpful. He introduced a new smelting method that improved production at the Mikage furnace. But that process secretly caused Tataragami inside Crystal Marrow to leak into the furnace. Workers got sick, people started dying, and Tatarasuna fell into crisis. The Kabukimono left to seek help from the shogunate. While he was gone, Niwa confronted Escher and realized something was wrong. Dottore dropped the act, killed Niwa, and revealed that the disaster was an experiment with the Kabukimono as the test subject. When the Kabukimono returned, Dottore lied. He told him Niwa had betrayed everyone, murdered a subordinate, and fled with his family. Then he gave the Kabukimono a device and sent him into the furnace to absorb Tataragami pollution. Because the Kabukimono was a puppet and not a human, he survived. But afterward, he opened the device and found a withered human heart inside. Dottore made him believe that heart belonged to Niwa's victim. So from the Kabukimono's point of view, Niwa, the person he trusted most, had abandoned Tatarasuna, murdered an innocent person, and used that person's heart to save him. That lie pushed him toward isolation, hatred, and eventually joining the Fatui. In truth, Dottore used Niwa's heart to save the Kabukimono, then convinced him Niwa was the villain. Later, as Scaramouche, he would work with Dottore, who modified him and helped unlock powers beyond what A had originally given him. After studying Scaramouche's puppet body for years, Dottore eventually created his segments, different versions of himself from different points in his life. It was his way of overcoming human limits like aging and the fact that one person can only be in one place at one time. Under Dottore's guidance, the Fatui experimented on Kale while claiming to treat her Elazar. She was infused with God's remains, which suppressed the disease but left her deeply traumatized until Sino eventually sealed those remains away. Kale was a child who suffered so badly that she started hating the world. The webcomics show this side of him even more directly. Dottore appears in Heresis, a Fatui underground arena where test subjects are forced to fight. After Krupp's 139th subject dies, Dottore Dottore calls his work pathetic and threatens to make Krupp a test subject too. Later, he takes Krupp's corpse and turns it into a ruin hunter-like monster. The manga also shows how he manipulated Mondstadt. Several of his segments preyed on Inspector Eroc's insecurities and pushed him to unseal Ursa the Drake. Eroc learned that Dottore's end goal was to replicate divinity and wanted to join him. Later, Dottore single-handedly defeated Ursa, making Mondstadt indebted to the Fatui. Then he used that influence to recruit vulnerable people and turn them into test subjects. It's not confirmed that Dottore was directly involved in the death of Diluc's father, but Krepus's delusion was tied to the Fatui and possibly to Dottore's subordinates. So if that connection ever gets confirmed, I really hope Diluc gets at least one punch in during the next Archon quest. And Kale too. During the Sumeru Archon quest, the version we meet there is the Omega build, one of his segments. He returns to the Academia, the same institution that rejected him, and starts working with the sages. And the reason they accept him is really sad, especially if you're a Nahida fan. The sages hate their own god. The sages never truly accepted Nahida as Rukkhadevata's successor. They thought she was too young, too weak, and too far beneath the old god of wisdom. So they locked her away and continued ruling Sumeru through the Akasha. When Dottore offered them a way to create a new god of wisdom using Scaramouche, they agreed. During the quest, Dottore modifies Akasha terminals so information can be placed directly into people's minds. He uses Sumeru's citizens to trap the traveler in Nahida, and he's just extremely unpleasant to deal with during the events of these quests. After the battle, he negotiates with Nahida directly. First, he gets the Electronosis by agreeing to erase his other segments. Then he trades information about the truth of the world, including the fact that Tevat's sky is fake for the Dendronosis. After Sumeru, his attention shifts toward the false sky, the three moons, and divine authority. And in Nodcry, his ambition reaches its most insane point. There, Dottore is supposed to help retrieve Columbina after she leaves the Fatui, but he has his own goal. He wants the authority of the three moons. In Sumeru, he helped create a god. In Nodcry, this time he tries to become something godlike himself. He antagonizes the Frost Moon Scions, helps orchestrate Reru's revival, tricks Columbina with a false moon, and steals the moon marrows. With that power, he gains godlike authority and turns parts of Nodcry into testing zones. He basically tried to become a moon goddess. He also captures the Traveler and becomes especially interested in them as a descender. To Dottore, the Traveler is the perfect variable for his grand experiment to transcend fate and become a god. But his plans fall apart when the Frost Moon is pulled down into Tevat and Columbina returns as the sole Trilune goddess. In his last attempt to survive, Dottore uses the artificial moon marrow as a shield against Columbina's moonbeam. It fails, the shield breaks, and Dottore is incinerated. So as of now, Dottore is assumed to be dead. But because this is Dottore we're talking about, I want to believe that he isn't really dead. This is a man whose entire character is built around backups, segments, and experiments that involve transcending human limits. So it makes you wonder, what version of Dottore are we actually seeing in the new Archon quest? I want to believe this is some kind of virus, backup, or final copy that Dottore left behind ahead of time. But honestly, it'd be even crazier if this was the real Dottore all along. He's some low virus or bug living in Irminsul. I just want him to be alive for longer to cause more chaos in the story, personally. Either way, Luna 7 is looking insane, and I'll keep you updated as more drops, so be sure to tune in for more. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. I'm your leafy lore keeper Minsleif, and I read the Genshin Impact lore so that you don't have to.